I'll download the app and we'll play around with it and like ask it questions in Kamala and Trump's voice. Hello. I'm just hopping on. I'm gonna go grab some oranges. While you guys come in, you guys ready? Let's get this party started. Hey, come on in, come on in. Talk about this crazy week we've had. These crazy politicians and SNL. SNL is on it. Like, they've been doing so many Kamala Trump skits. I'm here for every single one. They're like dead on. It's so fun. They always get it right when it comes to the politician. I'm drinking Olipop vanilla. I want to try something different. I already tried it before. It just tastes like vanilla water. It don't taste like nothing. Sometimes their sodas have flavor. Like their cola one actually tastes exactly like Pepsi or cola, but this one just tastes like water, sweet water. But like it's supposed to be like strawberry, but it tastes like mango a little bit to me. But it's not bad. So let me see. Let me turn on my iPad. Are you guys using AI yet at all? I was watching I forgot her name, but her name's Nikki. She's on a bunch of platforms. She does like marketing for content creation and things like that. And she does like this back and forth with AI. She has it go into like a Haitian accent. She has it go into like heavy, like really New York accent. And it was so funny, and AI was able to like adapt to it. I haven't downloaded that app yet, but I definitely want to. I want to, because I think that would be fun, especially what if I did it where I was like asking AI questions in like Trump voice or in Kamala's voice. I have to download that app, and maybe we'll do that next week. I'll download the app and we'll play around with it and like ask it questions in Kamala and Trump's voice. But right now I'm gonna ask it. I already wrote my own notes. You guys know I write notes after like watching reviews and stuff. But I'm gonna ask AI what they think as well. Like, are some general highlights we should have this week about the candidates? So let's see what it says. I'm gonna put strengths and weaknesses. I can tell you mine. Let me see if they agree. This is kind of what keeps me be like not so biased, because I have my opinions and then like I'll read it up against like AI, which is basically general knowledge, and then I'll see like if I'm where I'm leaning more towards, if I'm more, towards the Republican views, and I understand. Like this week, watching some of their debates, it was really cringe. But also, if you watch to the end of his rallies, not debates, Trump's rallies, he was kind of making sense in the end. But it's just like him getting over the. I told you guys the story of the Emperor's New Groove. Like literally, like instead of getting over his own vanity, that be the hard part. Cause wow, an hour and a half of it is talking about how great he is. The end of it is when he always kind of realized, oh, I gotta go home. Let me hurry up and say some stuff. So, all right, where are we? Do I have any other notes? This is it. See, I took notes. All right, so it's October 8th, and we are day 28, so we are almost there, y'all. Like the election is right around the corner. We'll have our new leader. Be it if it's gonna be Donald Trump, I think the world would just be like, oh well, this is what we got to deal with. But I think if we get Kamala in office, it's gonna be, we're gonna hear it in the news for at least another like year or two. Like it's gonna be contesting, litigation, lawsuit. Maybe throughout her whole thing, it's gonna be crazy because, and I don't know if this was like the first state to do that or not, but I think the California thing with changing the law and making it where you don't need an ID, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. So that was a little bit of to me, a hit to the Democrats, because it's like you need to have some, protocols in place in order to allow people to vote, especially being that your state is so close to the border where you could just have people just walk in. I don't understand what is the checks and balances of it. I was reading an article about it, and it said it was doing it because there is a lot of like fees that are associated with IDs that lower income people who are American citizens cannot afford IDs. So in order to like kind of, usurped that, they did away with the physical ID. But I don't know if because you don't have a physical ID, do you still have to bring a birth certificate? That's the part that was kind of missing in the article. It wasn't clear. I'm like, what is the proof that you're an American citizen that can vote? And I don't know if I know there used to be the thing where felons couldn't vote. I don't know if that's still a thing. How do they prove who's the felons, who's not? It's just like so many questions with it. And I'm somebody who, I kind of was like, Gavin Newsom, he always like ring positive in my mind from what the media portrays of him. So I don't really get into like California politics. I'm in Jersey, but from what the news portrays of him, he just doesn't seem so liberal and so extreme. So I don't know, that was a little shady, especially being that we know Kamala, that's like her home state. So we got to watch that one. But the other part that was funny this weekend, right, that's what it's feeling like. And that, well, even the Democrats, because I'm not one of those people that believe they stole the elections or anything like that. And also I'm voting for Kamala. Hold on, y'all. I am voting for Kamala. But I'm not one of them people that think they stole the election or anything like that. But also, I'm like, I have a rational mind and I like understand both sides. And like, if I'm accusing you of stealing the election and then you go and like make it where everybody can vote, it kind of makes your point like right. You got to give a right when it's right. And the Republicans are right when it comes to this matter. Like, it's wrong. The vote ID thing, that's wrong. But anyway, neither here nor there. So let's get into Mr. Hell MAGA himself, Elon Musk. Did you guys see him? Thank you. Yeah, Elon Musk is so funny because he is just like a stand for Trump. But y'all remember back in the day when him and Trump used to go to bat. Oh, I'm not doing lives today. Sorry. This is just like my quick little 1-2 punch before I have to get out of here. But in the future, I'm going to try to start like inviting people to my lives and stuff. But right now, I'm just trying to get in the rhythm of like being consistent and just like getting on here and kind of getting out my nerves, because you know, still new to just like hopping on the camera and just talking to y'all. So yeah, that's what this is for now until I'm more comfortable. Okay, so what is it? So Dark MAGA, aka NBC, is calling him Dork MAGA, which I think, I'm like, they're so petty. Like, we teach our kids not to bully, but then here we are, grown-ups bullying. I swear, children, if you want to be grown-ups, do not rush to be in this grown-up life, because grown-ups are nothing but children with money. That's it. Like, it's the same thing. Nothing changes. Like, and I'm sorry that we're like that and we're not better role models, especially us like millennials. We're like the worst of adults. So don't be like us, be better than us, you know. But anyway, yeah, so he's getting up there in his full spectrum of the, you know, he's literally on the spectrum. That's what everybody says about him. And like, it, you know, he always like denies it and tries to hide it. But I think a lot of those really brilliant people are on a spectrum, like A Beautiful Mind. So he's one of those. He was like basically super into the Donald Trump thing. But I will say, we have to remember that like, Elon Musk comes from South Africa during like its biggest time during apartheid, like the 80s, the 90s, that kind of era, like when Nelson Mandela was like that guy. Like, that's the world he sees. So he's seen it where it was all white rule essentially in South Africa, to it being overthrown, and then Nelson Mandela being like the president and like everything turning like black, like literally like the movie Planet of the Apes. Like, he's like, that's a fear, that's a childhood fear. And then, you know, his family had to flee and things like that. So we have to remember, sometimes he's moving from a place of fear and not necessarily from a place of love. And you know what happens when you move from fear? You tend to make irrational decisions. So I think that's what's kind of happening with him. And then going into it, there's like a lot of Trump backers that are supporting him that are also South African, that like Peter Thiel, David Sachs, Paul Ferber, you know, the guy he created like the QAnon stuff. So those are all South African white men that kind of are leading, not in love, but in a little bit of a fear, you know, resistance to change kind of ideology. So we have to keep that in mind when we're watching them and like where this excitement is coming from. And they believe it. It's not like they're bad people. They just are, you know, dealing with their traumas that they haven't addressed. And they're addressing it through politics right now. Basically, yes. Who really cares about you and who are really like are trying to be more self-interested and trying to kind of play it off as if they care. So, and that's on both sides, because we can talk about we're going to talk about it later, but Kamala did an interview for 60 minutes, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Oh, I don't know why I wrote a little note about Haley Bailey. Oh, I said I feel like all this like Halle Bailey and the Tyler stuff and all that kind of plays into the South African thing too. So like Halle Bailey came on to the Grammys and which Tyler won, and she's like a South African princess, and she kind of like snubbed Haley, which is the American girl, and then Elon Musk and them being South Africans, they're trying to make the next South African hero. Like it just all plays into it to me. Like if you really look at America like a big movie, or like not just America, it's globalized now, like the world like a big movie, all the storylines cross intersect in some shape or form. Oh, there's a new group, which is another kind of cross intersectional thing. Republicans for Harris. They were on the news going ham for her. People including, what was her name? Liz. I wrote her name down. I haven't seen this lady in years, so I forgot her name. But I remember her being all over the news back in the day. Liz Cheney. Yeah, she was like hanging with Kamala this weekend. Like that's some metaverse stuff right there too. So there's a lot of that going on right now. We're in a whole new season of like media and politics. Like even now being on social media and presenting this stuff to you guys, this is all because you have to reach people and give them the information some way. And as I was like listening and researching and everything this week, and I was like, how can people know all of this? Like unless you like are sitting down and doing what I'm doing and taking out like an hour or two a day to like really take all this information in. And I'm doing this just for you guys, but nobody has time for this. I'm doing it like because I feel like there needs to be a place where it's at. But it's really unfair now how the media used to be like you can get a kind of general information from everywhere and it would be almost similar or spot on. But now it's so vastly different. When I tell you MSNBC has nothing to do with Fox News, has nothing to do with CNN, they're all telling their own stories. And then not to think of the small like media channels like for social media now. Like you can be whatever you want to be. You can believe whatever you want to believe in this world. And that's the really sad part because there's almost like no averaging. No, what is the average thought here? It's so extreme. It's left or right. So we talked about the Republicans for Harris. They basically are saying like they feel essentially that the Republican Party has already been hijacked by extremists and they are no longer going to be in power. And a lot of the ones that are not as extreme as like what Donald Trump wants in place, they're going to be voted out or pushed out in some way, shape, or form. So they were on the news talking about that this week. They want Donald Trump to slow down and listen to them. Like if he was to be like what they envisioned him to be, he would have been a really good candidate. It's just he went too far. And they said now they feel like he's borderline something called natural genetic fear, which is conservative intellectualism, which basically means like anyone that is not a white or Aryan person is inferior to the Aryan race. And so when they say stuff like natural genetic fear or conservative intellectualism, that's what they're actually saying. They're just talking about that Hitler talk. That's so they said be mindful of those words, and if you hear those terms in their speeches. The terms are natural genetic fear and conservative intellectualism. So just that's a dog whistle for basically Aryan are in rule, which I thought was interesting. So that was Republicans talking about Trump though. So they were saying that's kind of the fear mongering that he's doing. And also it was something else called the Great Replacement Theory. They talked about Trump. I'm going to talk about Trump and then I'm going to go into Kamala afterwards. So they were talking about Trump has something called the Great Replacement Theory in place, which basically is a fear of migrants. It's a fear of the Planet of the Apes. It's a fear that something new will come in, take over, and become the dominant species. So they're saying that the migrants can come in and do that because I guess they're so close to Mexico and Venezuela and places like that, where it's easy for them to come in. And because the way Kamala is manning the border, she's allowed this, the Biden administration has allowed this huge influx of migrants to come in, and they feel like that's the messaging for their people, is to let them know we can't stand for this. We have to close the borders because they're trying to replace us. And the term you'll hear them say in their speeches, the Great Replacement Theory. So just keep that in mind when you're listening to their speeches as well. I talked about Elon Musk. What else? Oh, Trump just keeps saying Kamala isn't that smart, and it goes back into that great replacement theory and the great race theory again. So just keep an eye out for that rhetoric. Oh, a big thing in the news headlines this week was that Trump pulled out of 60 Minutes. He was supposed to do 60 Minutes along with Kamala. So I guess he decided not to do it. But I agree with him for not doing it because he doesn't need to. Right now, he feels like J.D. Vance did what he was... I think he would have done it had J.D. Vance dropped the ball with the debate. Because J.D. Vance did a pretty good job on the debate. So he doesn't need... He feels like, the candidates already know me. She's the one that has to prove herself. The more she talks, the more people really are not in favor of her. So let her just talk, you know, because the reason people are in favor of her the more she talks is because it comes off a little bit inauthentic and repetitive and, you know, the giggly stuff, and people don't like that. Because they want, like, somebody who they feel like can go against Putin and North Korea. They want somebody who they feel like is strong, and a giggling little princess doesn't give the strong, you know, kind of ideas that they want to put out there. Okay, and so he's basically like, I don't need to do the 60 Minutes interview, and that's why I think he personally didn't do it. And I have a clip. I'm going to post a clip when we get off of here of him praising J.D. Vance because he feels like J.D. Vance did an amazing job at the debate. And so he's satisfied. And now even his speeches are different this week. Like, he feels strong. That kind of gave him like a little bit of the boost that he needed. Oh, one thing I didn't like is J.D. Vance keeps going around, and Donald Trump has to check him for this. He keeps saying like he doesn't agree with fact checking and fact checkers, but it goes back to the same thing with the Gavin Newsom thing, how Gavin Newsom changed the law and it makes it seem like you're doing something a little shady, like this voter fraud might exist. It kind of validates the Republicans. Same thing with J.D. Vance continuing to say that he doesn't believe in fact checking journalists, like he doesn't believe in that. It kind of validates what the Democrats are saying about y'all, that y'all be lying. So he kind of has to stop that rhetoric. Oh yeah, and so media thinks that this lying thing that J.D. Vance and Trump are doing is kind of a litmus test to basically see who will be absolutely on their side once they're in office, and if they're in office. And if you are on their side, you're willing to do anything, and that means even cover their lies, which we know we shouldn't do that. In government, it's so important to have like checks and balances. So anybody that will cover you for whatever, you know, you really don't need, you need a no person in your corner. You have to have at least one person who's not going to just be kissing your butt all day. And Trump don't want that. He just want people, whoever, what do you say is God. Like my granddad used to say, when I talk, God talk. So that's what he wants life to be like. When he talk, God talk. Yeah, I did write that what I felt, this is a personal opinion. What I did feel when watching, I feel like his messaging didn't really go anywhere. There wasn't like any poignant messaging. I think the messaging was America. I'll say that. Whatever that means to you, that was the messaging. But outside of that, it really didn't say like what we're going to do. We know it sounds like destruction a lot. It's like we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to fight, fight, fight. I wrote in the end, this is the last note I wrote actually. I was going to save it, but I'll say it now. I might say it again later. So I felt like when I was watching it, he was saying, I'm beautiful, bigger, better, the greatest, drill, baby, drill, fight, fight, fight. And I don't want to say, red rum, red run, red run. Like, and basically assassination. So that's kind of like what his speeches are in the beginning. Then at the end, I just happened to like not zone out. I was like, let me just like listen to him at the end. Let me fast forward because it was getting so like redundant. Then when I got to the meat and potatoes of it, I said, okay, he finally slowed down. You could tell his energy relaxed. Then he started talking about Philadelphia. Ironically, he wasn't talking necessarily about politics, but I saw a real person when he started talking about, it's like at the end, like around 1 hour and like 20 minutes, and he started talking about Philadelphia and what Philadelphia means to him as an American. That was the first time where I saw like a human element of him. Outside of that, it was all showboating, all showmanship. So if you guys go and watch that rally that he just did this week, you'll see a little bit of humanality in him. But it sometimes he just is an entertainer, and it's hard to get to like the human element in him. Thank God he got Melania, because she tried to humanize him this week. They was like, "What do you like about your husband?" She was like, "Oh, he's a good dad. He stay at home." We looking at her like, "Girl, you know that man don't stay at home." Okay, so what else? So he's done. So they were talking about the rally count, right? So in the past, he did 283 rallies in 2016, and this time Trump only did 61 rallies. So that is like a sign that his health might be a little bit declining, and he might not be like as healthy as he's portraying himself to be. So people are a little worried with that because he isn't on the trail as much. But I again think it has more to do with the Kamala thing, where he doesn't need to be out there because she's the one that has to prove herself. We know he's kind of like, you know what you're getting with me. Like you've been here before. This is not, you're not new to this. You're true to this. So that's kind of what he feels like, which we'll see if that works in his favor or not, or if he should have like not been so arrogant and actually been out here on the trail. Only time will tell. We'll find out. And the next thing his messaging really involves like all or nothing, good versus evil. He's really honing in on like American versus the un-American. That's like what the theme has been for him this week. Like, I mean, not just this week, but especially this week. Like, he's honing in on it, like good versus evil. Who is American? Who's the bad guy? Like, kind of that whole dark, MAGA thing. And he's talking about like he's bringing his family up. He's involving more people into the conversation. His family is talking more like generals and sergeants, and it appears he's gearing like his base up for a civil war. That's what it felt like to me. That's a personal opinion. It felt like I was hearing pre-Civil War speeches, and I feel like it's one of those speeches you'll look back on in years to come and say, that's what that speech was about. So these are from his children and their wives and spouses and stuff. So yeah, he's just really like ramping it up right now and letting his base know that there's a danger, and if you are trusting me, then you will vote for the right candidate, and I'm the right candidate. That's kind of like where we are with him right now. Let's see. Oh, the hurricane. So Trump is really smart when it came to the hurricane. First, I was kind of like, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? Because he's essentially showing like the whole, remember, we can't forget, because we've been like in this federal thing, like there's still states. So you have like the federal governments, then you have like the state government, and the states can do whatever they want to do essentially. And it feels like he's using that to his advantage. So with the hurricane, he first showcased that when it comes to Kamala not showing up, FEMA not having the funds to show up, because the billionaires are bankrupting FEMA because, they give to these charities. They don't have to always be established. Government gives so much money, and then usually you get aid from different companies and organizations to even give you more funding for those companies like FEMA that are usually non-for-profit, right? So you need money. You need the rich people to be on your side. When they're mad at you, what will they do? They'll take their money away from you. And because they want Donald Trump, they've kind of put their money behind him, which means they're putting the money behind the states. And so the states that are following Donald Trump are eating good right now. Right now. They don't have to wait. They're not waiting to January for the federal government. That's the difference, y'all. So he's going into the states that he knows he can win. He's talking to the rich people like Vegas, like Texas, like Louisiana. He's going to the states where he knows his base, and he knows the billionaires in those states, and he's having them fund things now. And these billionaires are going out saying, look, we're funding you because we're friends of Trump. Pay to play. That pay to play can get you in trouble, though. So you got to be careful of that, because if you pay to play, that means you can listen. And we don't want a president that do a lot of that either. But that we ain't going that far yet today. So we're going to just continue to talk about the hurricane. So with the hurricane, he used that pay to play ideology to his advantage, because now he's there and DeSantis is talking smack to who? Kamala. He's like, I don't need your money, baby. We good. The state is good. You know why the state is good? Because Elon Musk probably already gave money to the state. Donald Trump's friends already probably gave money to the state. So that means DeSantis get on TV and say, we don't need the president. We don't need the federal government. Our state is good. And that's how it works. That's how civil wars are caused, right? Because the rest of the world is like, how are y'all doing good? Y'all seen that episode of Martin when they were in the woods and Gina had crackers and they was all hungry and shivering and they just heard Gina like munching and they were like, you got food and we starving, and they all had to share little tiny pieces of crackers. That's human nature, right? So that's why he's saying all that stuff. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. But in all actuality, he's actually still disrespecting the flag. And when it comes to like the FBI and the CIA and disrespecting the country, they don't play like that. They don't play like that because they want unity. They don't want another civil war. So they have to be careful with that too, going too far with that kind of rhetoric and kind of talking that civil war talk. But that's what has been going on. He talking that talk though, so he clearly not scared, and he's using the hurricane to his advantage to show how far reaching his network is and how far his money is and how much pull he has. War. Oh yeah, I said he's continuing to put into everybody's minds that the Democrats have tried to him. I said I did what my personal opinion is. I feel like some of the talk is getting a little bit dark, a little bit harsh. And I noticed that Fox News is not airing him as much anymore. Like, they'll air the kids and the wife, but they don't mess with that man. And even J.D. Vance, like, they have interviewed him one time I seen that was, like, really tense. I'm like, these your people. Like, your people is treating you like that? Something's wrong. Something's wrong. I don't know. I ain't get into all of y'all can tell me if what happened with Fox News and Trump. I'm not sure. But something's there. Because they are so rude to his people right now. The interviews are like hostile. Trump was bragging in like some of his rallies about the Roe v. Wade thing. He's a flip-flopper when it comes to that one. Like one day he'll say, well, I don't know, he just more so say, I'm supporting women's rights. We're gonna never touch the woman's body. But then in the same breath, he keeps bragging that he overturned Roe v. Wade. So which one is it? He keeps forgetting that he's not supposed to be on that side no more. He forgets all the time. He's like, I appeal Roe v. Wade, and then like, but the woman's body belongs to her. So he talks out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to that. And I noticed him do that several times when I watch his rallies. And them rallies is long, y'all. And I be watching them for y'all. Sometimes they funny, but sometimes they're just long. Average length. They're saying the average length of his rallies are 80 minutes, y'all. And he doesn't want to relinquish the crowd. They have to like play music, try to get him out. He really doesn't want to end it. But I will say the one he did yesterday, he wrapped it up. It was about an hour and a half, but he wrapped it up eventually. He talks about Russia a lot. You know, he has that fascination with Russia. He did talk about stopping some of the like war in Iran, things like that in Iraq. In Israel. He talked a little bit about that. Oh, so I was watching this podcast about, and it was like two women that were talking about Trump. They were saying that he was out there selling sneakers, selling watches, and selling trading cards. And they showed a clip of it. I'm going to post my clip here. I cannot. It was the most hilarious thing ever. He's like basically selling himself. I told y'all he was broke from last week when he was on there selling honey bunches of oats and bacon. I was trying to tell y'all that last week. And then the ladies on this podcast, I think it was called IHTV. Those ladies were saying the same thing. They're like, he's up here selling himself. What president you know has ever sold bacon and honey bunches of oats on their rallies? And now he's selling watches and trading cards like he had a damn Pokemon. That is crazy. Oh, that's all right. I block you too. It's a mutual block. It's a block show. That's a fun block party. Okay, so this admin will be I said this administration will be pay to play, which I mentioned earlier. So I felt that. I got my music on too, y'all. 200 million will be sold. Watch it. I Hip News is what it was called when the ladies was talking about how he was on there selling himself. And on that same podcast, it's called I Hip News. They were talking about They called it recreational cruelty and racism. And I like that. They said they're using racism as recreational cruelty, meaning they're sitting around the soup kitchen with their kids and their families and their parents, and they're laughing about racism and laughing about things that would usually be harmful to talk about, and things that we kind of got uncomfortable talking about, and things that we knew that was like right and wrong. So it's kind of like tapping into, like, I'm teaching my daughter right now about character development, right? Character, like good character versus bad character. And good character, is being kind and thoughtful and helpful and things like that. And bad character is being cruel and unkind and, criticizing people and things like that. So that's kind of what we see when we watch Trump. Like, a lot of it is just complete like criticism of women, complete criticism of like migrant people and blacks and people of color. It's really sometimes hard to watch. Yeah, like, and I think that's part of it. Like, Donald Trump moves in like a patriotic ideology, and he often will use like his patriotism to cover up the fact that he's a little bit of a sexist. And like when he says the women, we have to protect them, we have to, or he says we have to get rid of the trans because men don't belong in sports. Or he'll say stuff like, oh, she's so cute. If she wasn't my daughter, I would have dated her. Like, just little stuff like that. And or he'll say, he called somebody beautiful the other day, and he was like, I'm not supposed to say that anymore. They say I can't say that this person is beautiful anymore. Oh, it was some girl who got into like a boxing with a transgender opponent or something like that, which I don't even think the person was transgender. I think they were like born like just different with like higher testosterone or something. And so he said the girl quit, and he was like, the girl was so beautiful. She was so beautiful. She's like, he kind of talks like that a lot. And that kind of is usually how, male chauvinists talk. And that's kind of like something he has to kind of stop doing in order to have women more trusting of him, Because if the way he's talking, it makes it really hard for any woman who has their right mind to listen to that man. Yeah. Oh, Melania was on the trail today. So Melania was outside. She basically did several interviews, and she was essentially talking about her husband, how much he cares about her husband, how much, he contributed to America, and how, his voice and being so powerful, like he's such a big threat right now to people that they're trying to assassinate him, and basically how he's a hero for America. So that was essentially what the jargon she was talking about. So, that wasn't a bad interview. She looked beautiful, by the way, and so that's what I'll say with that. And I think the reason they had so many interviews with Melania this week is because they wanted to align her interviews up with Kamala, because Kamala did several sit-downs today. She was on The View. She was on Call Her Daddy podcast. She's going to be on Howard Stern, I think, tonight or tomorrow. And so she just did a bunch of interviews this week. So I think that's why they had Melania come out, so she can counter those interviews and look just as beautiful and just as poised as Kamala. So that was a good tactic. When you in the game, he's in the game. That's for sure. Never given. Oh yeah, and I personally wrote, yeah. I mean, I like she looked beautiful, but I'm really never forgiving her for stealing Michelle Obama's entire speech. But and yeah, I said overall what I noticed is like there's a little bit of Nazism cult behavior going on. Because the man, he's getting older, he's slowing down, he's impaired. I don't know if you guys are just watching the clips of Trump that are like beautiful. Remember when Mariah Carey was going through that like stage, and she didn't want to be seen as like imperfect, and she like edited every picture, and every time she posted a song of herself was highly edited, but you just watched it live and she sounded like trash. That's what's happening with Trump. They're editing him so well on social media that if you actually sit and watch the whole hour and a half and you're in your right mind, I'm sorry, babes. There's no way. I'm sorry. There's just no way. You can watch 2 hours. I watched more than 2 hours. I watched like 4 or 5 hours. I watched probably every Trump clip that's out for y'all. But there's no way. I'm sorry. There's no freaking way. I wanted to too, because like I said, when Sleepy Joe was in, y'all couldn't get me to vote for that man, and I had to choose between him and Trump. It was gonna be Trump all day. I already told y'all that. So it has nothing to do with if the man is capable, if he did it. I didn't care about that. It's just he is something triggered when Kamala got in some part of his brain, he done lost it. I'm sure there's a medical term for that, but it's not there no more. It triggers something in him. I watched all of it. I'm just telling y'all. So again, let's wrap that up. Let's wrap that up, and then we'll talk about anything else Trump related right now. I think that's it for Trump. All right, let's get to Kamala. We'll do her now. Miss Kamala. And Trump got MSNBC hot. They quoting books. They said y'all need to read about Republican. They said y'all need to read Conservative Mind. I wrote these down for me, but I'm just sharing if you want to read them. Conservative Mind by Russell Kirk. Things That Matter by Charles Krauthammer. I think I got it. And I can't remember the other book. It's a book by Burke and a book by Eddie Newman. I haven't looked up what those are, but I'm going to have to find them. So they were so hot on MSNBC because Donald Trump been telling so many lies. Apparently, according to them. I don't know. I didn't fact check. And they just was hot. They just hot. So this week they're calling it the media blitz. That's all they kept saying. It's a media blitz. It's a media blitz. That was the word of the week, babes. So that basically means we're 30 days out, almost 28 days to be exact. And it's game time. And so they're going to be all over our face all week. And you know, for Kamala, them Republicans done dropped this Diddy story on their behinds. So all the black people is like, skirt, skirt. So it's going to be really hard for her to grab black people's attention right now. And they're betting on it. And they're doing a great job because every 5 minutes is a new Diddy story. That is not just like, oh, that's interesting. Now back to politics. It's, oh my God, what is that? And it's like so crazy that you have to research it. And then you like down a whole, because I went down a rabbit hole of Diddy. Wow. So yeah, they got black people caught up over there. So that is like the media outlet for blacks right now. Kamala, Diddy. So she is fighting against that wave, and that is eating her up. It's such a big, it's so big. And she is like, you can see it in her eyes, like on that 60 Minutes. She's like, why am I on 60 Minutes? She's like, I don't want to be on here with these old, you know, she old people, but she don't say she like a young old people. She's like, I do not want to be on here. But she was on there because where else she gonna be? 60 Minutes the biggest outlet she can get right now. Everybody talk about Diddy. And Trump said, I'm not going. I don't need this. So let's talk about her. So this week she, like I said, she did a few podcasts. She did Call Her Daddy interview for and then she did 60 Minutes. She did The View and she did Howard Stern. That's where she could be. She need to be there because they're eating her up, the Republicans. They're going everywhere she's not going. They got Donald Trump front and center. He's just sitting out there being all presidential. And they're like, Kamala who? Jigga what? Jigga who? So, then we have, okay, Howard Stern. I said something is over. I don't know what I wrote there, but I said I like her little response that she said to the interviewer. She said, how do you feel about being humble when people say you need to be humble? She said, some of us women are born to be humble. I said, period. That's a bar. I love that. She also invited Tim Walsh on the interview, and I personally feel like he didn't do too well in the debate, so he looked a little sad on the 60 Minutes debate. He didn't look like himself. Like confident dad, you know? He looked like sad uncle. It was sad. But I feel like that when I do bad. You know, when you do like a speech and you fumble it. I remember I was like 12 years old and we had to go to Jason Kidd's house. Yeah, that Jason Kidd. He was like famous back in the day. And I had to do like a speech. And I was so nervous, and my paper was like shaking and everything. And sometimes you mess up, you know. And then I was like sad for like a week, but I got over it. So he'll get over it. But that's what I felt like looking at him. Like he was just so disappointed in himself. And so yeah, he talked a little bit on 60 Minutes, but nothing new. And they basically just started talking about the segment was kind of shady because it basically only honed in on that little part where he was telling lies. I didn't know he was telling lies, y'all. I hadn't heard that part. So apparently, he said he went to Hong Kong back in like the 80s or something, but he never went to Hong Kong. Just like Kamala said she had went to the border and hadn't ever been to the border or something. They're telling like these stupid lies, like, and that's what makes Kamala and Walt's a little scary sometimes, and why people are doubting them. And so they gotta stop telling those lies. Like from here on out, like they gotta tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Everybody tell little lies though, because remember Trump said he was like honorably discharged or something, and he ended up having like for like some kind of war wound. He had just had like some kind of something in his leg. It was messed up, something stupid. Hell, they all tell little lies like that, but in this day and age, you can't lie like that no more, because you'll be found out so quick. They call it doxing. They'll dox you like in a second, so you really can't like play around anymore. And so they're older generation, they're learning that, but he learning it real fast, you know, because Ross, that was big time lie. What I did notice in the interview with Kamala, she's making a little bit too many excuses. I want her to answer the questions. She does this Obama thing. You can't do that. Obama was real smart. He can give you the Obama thing, but also give you the answer. Meaning, like, he'll be like, he give you numbers and percentages. If you go watch Obama, that's why he won. It wasn't just that he was talking all fantasy, like, you know, and like fancy. He was also like giving you this data. So he'd be like, you know, in 1960, only 30% of blah 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 did the blah 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 blah. You know, he'll give it in a breakdown like that. Whereas her, she just does the fluff part, but doesn't give you the meat and potatoes. Because they were asking her, how would you get to these policies that you want? With what money? And she said she's going to tax the rich to give to the poor. That's the Robin Hood strategy. That's old school. You can't do that no more. The rich don't want to hear that no more. Rich people want to stay rich. And then the people who are aspiring to rich don't want to hear that either. Because all these social media content people, they in their mind already think they rich. So they thinking, oh, when I get rich, you're going to be taxing me. I ain't voting for you. Even though they broke. That's just how the mentality is now. Like, people aspire to be rich. So you saying that you're going to do something harmful to the rich, people kind of take it personally. It's more like things are really, they call it parasocial relationships. They don't want you harming the rich people either. So it's kind of like people don't want to hear that. She has to come up with a better way than charging the rich and giving to the poor, because we know that's not going to work. Because in office, the Republicans are gonna deny every bill she puts in place, and then nothing's gonna happen, and then we're gonna end up in the same situation. There's gonna be inflation everywhere, and because people are gonna have to figure out how to way to get their money back, and the companies are gonna be charging who? The people. So if that's her policy, I can just tell you right now, that ain't gonna work. She gotta come up with a strategy and an actual plan. She need to come up with her own Project 2025 version or something. Like, come on, y'all, come on, Democrats, wake up. Like, give us something. Give us something. Not some 1986 Jesse Jackson rhetoric. It's kind of getting old. And, DeSantis and her were going back and forth this week. Her and Kamala and DeSantis. He is refusing any help from Kamala at all. She did say she had called him to try to reach out to get help. But he's like, he said, you are just the VP. I don't have to call. You already called Biden, essentially is what he said. He said he talked to Biden. But he said the president. So when I said the president, did he mean Biden? Or did he mean Trump? He's already talked to the president. Because you know they're deniers. So when I hear something like that, I'm like, that's shady. And he said that, and then he also said like the Biden administration never called him. So did you talk to the president or the president? But yeah, that's what's going on, y'all. It's the states is about to rise up. They about to rise up. You're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. Mark my words. The states are about to have a lot more power and recognize the power that they have, because Donald Trump's been there before. He knows how to do it. He knows what to expect. Excuse me. And if he is not the president of the United States, he's still going to try to dictate the states and manage the states in whatever way he can. So it's not like this man is going away. So don't think, oh, he's won, ding dong, the witch is dead. No. Trump ain't going nowhere. That's why I say listen to the jargon, the rhetoric, so that you can stay vigilant and on top of it, so that you know forearmed is forewarned. So you got to get the heck up out of this country. You can do that. Or whatever you got to do for your family to protect yourselves, because whoever wins, wins. Whoever's the president is the president. It is what it is. And the consequences of the result of the election will determine what me and you got to do. And then we'll talk about that when we get there. And it's not just going to be voting. It's going to be getting your passport, getting your money aligned. We're going to talk about all of that. Because it's not no joke. Like, who rules the roost really will matter in this cycle. Because I told you we're at the end of the cycle. So whoever wins this election, it's going to change everything. Like, the whole world is going to change. That's why I hopped on here too. I tell you guys that all the time. Okay, so she talked about distrust in FEMA and how a lot of states are distrusting FEMA right now, because of what DeSantis is saying about FEMA and how they haven't shown up for other huge hurricanes. So she's saying, like, there's this distrust there, but to make sure you listen to your sheriffs. Again, the federal government has no jurisdiction in DeSantis' area, so he can do what he want to do. So she's telling the media, basically, I can't do anything. Just the people need to listen to their sheriffs. But she should have said listen to their governor. But she doesn't want to say that because it's DeSantis, and they are like that. Yeah, she said, Kamala says her whole, like, ideology is to fight against distrust. She's trying to fight against, like dishonesty in the news, dishonesty in the media. So I don't know. That's what the messaging was this week. She basically has been talking about putting her differences to the side, because people were saying in her 60-minute interview, it was a lot of talk about her flip-flopping. And they were like, you don't stand on the things that you say you're going to do. So how can we trust you if you become president that you're going to, uphold everything that you're saying to us now? And she basically just said that the reason she's flip-flopped is because she's gotten to know the American people. And the more and more she got to know the American people, she got to know more information about what their actual needs are. And it helped her change her ideologies and her policies a little bit. I don't know how I felt about the answer, but I put personally that I said she needs to invest more time in learning and teaching us about who she is right now. Like, it shouldn't, I don't even think that interview should have been all about that, because I heard too much Trump in that interview. To me, the interview should have been like, this is who I am. This is who my mom was. This is who my dad was. This is who me and my husband are at home. This is who we will be for the country. And get to know Kamala. Like, not the character, not the politician, but the human being. And then the hard, heavy-hitting stuff, she could have connected to the human part of her. So, okay, these policies based on, she wants to invest in small business. She wants to invest in small business because her sister owns a small business. She wants to, connect it back home. That's why Trump is so good at that. Like, he can say, look, my son is doing this, my wife is doing this, my daughter's doing this. He'll even realize, oh, Ivanka's doing this right now. I think she's working with them guys. Bring it back home. Kamala hasn't connected her story to America yet. She hasn't brought it home. So we don't feel like we know her like that. We don't know her like that, but we can feel it. Sometimes you cannot know a person. Again, Obama, nobody knew him, but he wrapped us up so quick in his story of who he is, and the identity of who he was so loud and clear that made it easy for people to just go for him, versus Kamala's trying to recapture that moment, which, lightning doesn't strike twice all the time. And it's not as authentic because she's not wrapped up in, her story isn't wrapped up in who she is. And I don't think she wanted it to be like that. She wanted it to be like wrapped up to her brains. But when you're dealing with somebody who's not using their brains that much, he using his brawn, you have to use yours a little bit. You got to use what you got as well. And her story is something that she has that's unique to her, that she does need to lean more into so we can kind of get to know her. because once she become president, it's gonna be too late for us to know who she is. Okay, yeah, she talks about the rich a lot. She needs to stop mentioning them in that way, like the rich or the wealthy. She got to come up with a better like name. That's one thing the Republicans do. They have a lot of dog whistles, a lot of earmarks that they kind of code wording in. She has to figure out a way to say the rich without saying the rich, because everybody, I think in this generation at least, are aspiring to be wealthy. Nobody want to be broke no more. So it's going to be like this big, obviously, gap. In reality, there's a big gap between like the wealthy and the poor. But even the poor are pretending now on social media, so they don't want to be poor no more. So to be called out for it, they don't like that. They even though they're not rich, they feel like they have these parasocial relationships with the rich on social media, so they're supporting the rich. So dog, it's literally like Hunger Games now. They're watching their favorites. They're watching Katniss, fight for the country, so they're rooting for her. So imagine, it's like when Kamala say the rich, they're thinking about Katniss, and they're like, okay, she's made it. She's our rich. And like you're talking about her. So like when you talk about the rich, people think about their Jackie Annas or their Logan Pauls, or I don't know, he's still popular. But it's the rich are so tied up into who the poor are now that you can't talk like that about the rich, if that makes sense. That's how I feel about it. So it's not coming off like she's doing any favors for the people, because they're like, you're taxing the rich, but then they're just gonna keep taxing us. So that's what she was talking about a lot in that interview. She did say in the last 4 years, she's really opened herself up, and like she's found her rhythm and how to communicate to people, and people really respect her, like her, and listen to her. And she was saying, if you want to hear the truth about Donald Trump, go watch his rallies. I think that's a bold statement that she is encouraging, like, y'all, like, I know y'all ain't gonna like what he's saying, go watch his rallies. So I agree, though. I actually did watch his rally show. They long rallies. I watched all of them. And I'll just say, y'all go watch the rally for yourself, and you let me know what you think about it. Because, my opinion don't matter here. I'm just giving you just the information. So, yeah, they were talking about how groceries are 20% higher, and how she needs to, figure out how to invest in the middle class, and same old. She talked about just more tax break, that Trump wants to give more tax breaks to the rich. I said this. The whole interview to me was like too much Trump, and again, not enough Kamala. More Trump. Yeah, they asked her straight up. They say, opponents think you are a flip-flopper. What do you think about that? And she said that she has a set structure of beliefs. And she said as long as her beliefs haven't changed, if her policy changed, that's one thing, but her internal beliefs haven't changed, then it should be fine. Which, again, her answers are not like, boom. Like, I want to feel when you talk. Like, sometimes you just be giving generic answers that don't make no sense. VP was recently embarrassed about crackdown of asylum seekers. She completely ignored that question. She did not answer about the asylum seekers. She said there's a program in place now for the asylum seekers, but she jumped right over that question. She did talk about the bill, though, the border bill, and she blamed Congress. We talked about that last week, so I'm not going to get into that. But she talked about the border bill again, and she basically said, it kind of insinuated that the asylum seekers would have been stopped had that border bill been in place. But we talked about that last week. They said this is like the first historic flood, like during Biden's administration. They said, what's the mistakes you made? She wouldn't admit to any mistakes. She said she just basically, again, blamed Congress for not passing, funding bills fast enough for like any hurricanes or natural or climate change bills. So she blamed Congress again, which I said she got to stop doing that too, because if you're blaming the people, all right, now when you become president, they're not going to forget that, right? They said the axe forgets, the tree remembers, Yeah, they talked about Ukraine, and she said she would not go to Ukraine not go to talk to Russia without having Ukrainian leaders there. So I have to research that more, but yeah, she was talking about that. That was a little weird comment. I was like, okay, so you wouldn't talk to leaders without another leader? Sometimes you gotta be able to talk. Cause we America, we can talk to whoever the hell we want to talk to. We don't need permission. Heard that before, Uncle Ruckus. Okay, and then I think I just got a few little tiny notes. Then I gotta go. These were just general. I told y'all the books already. She did say that she was law enforcement. She said, I'm a proud law enforcement that hold a Glock. So I put a little red flag next to that one because the way she said it was kind of like I heard that before, Uncle Ruckus. Okay, and then I think I just got a few little tiny notes. Then I gotta go. Houston died. Again, another, could be a sad, rest in peace, sissy thing. Like, so of course black people are gonna be into that. Another thing they got black people wrapped up into instead of focusing on Kamala and Trump or politics in general is Eric Adams and this whole he had another public safety officer to resign. His name was Phil Banks. So that's a whole nother thing. I told y'all earlier about Gavin Newsom and California not needing IDs anymore for voting rights, which I think is wrong. Oh, random, they're bringing back Governor Patterson in New York City. He was like this kind of controversial governor back in the day. He's been in the news randomly too. I don't know what that's about and how that ties into anything, but I think that's some shady media and stuff that I'm sure has more meaning to it. And also there's a lot of pro-Palestinian marches right here in New York City. It is going crazy right now. So if y'all gotta get home from work and you in the New York area, like try to go around where the marches are. I remember those days when they used to have marches. That's what he said. He said he overturned Roe v. Wade, but then in the next breath, he says he's gonna turn it back over. He said he's gonna turn it back over if he get in office. So, but he was bragging when it got turned over, because y'all remember that tweet. We'll never forget that tweet. Like, he was very proud of himself. It was BS. I'm sorry, guys. Media is not treating y'all right. How much information they're putting out to you guys, me included when I say you guys. It's like they're not treating us right. It's just wrong. It's too much information. It's all over the place. It's not, nobody's talking to each other no more. It's literally Lord of the Flies. It's a dog world out here when it comes to media. I said I observed that there's a media bliss and they're overworking the media and for us not to pay attention to the elections. I said there will be no more debates, and I said there's no more debates. We don't even realize that Trump denied the debates. He denied the 60 Minutes interview. Nobody cares because it's all this stuff in the media about Cardi B and Halle Bailey and Diddy of it all, and it's just so stupid. And I feel bad. That's why I hop on here and do my little part where I can. For the 2-3 black people that catch me, shout out to you, because, you know, at least you watching me instead of the Diddy stuff right now. So, shout out to you. Oh, TikTok, what are you doing? Okay. All right, so FEMA doesn't have the money to back. Oh, yeah, I talked about that. Basically, FEMA don't have the money to be the big dog right now, so it's making it hard for the federal government to show up for these hurricanes. So, and I also think, I'm a conspiracy theorist just a little tiny bit, but I think that, like, the hurricanes are man-made. Sorry. In order to be a political topic. It really is, like, just too convenient. There was an update on Red Lobster. That was random. The CEO... Okay. Oh, this lady said you can what you say? Oh yeah, no problem. Let me see. I'll approve. That's misinformation. Says they have money for everything. Don't worry about it. That I know. I'm not even you. That's not misinformation. I said FEMA doesn't have money, or that Trump is not using their money. Which one is the misinformation? Because what I'm saying is FEMA doesn't have the money from the billionaires right now because they're giving it to Trump and his people so that he can go be the hero. So that's the word on the street, baby. No problem. No problem. Okay, so where are we? Oh yeah, Red Lobster CEO is a black man. I went to Red Lobster with my mom like a few days ago, and it was so empty in here and dry. My mom was telling me like about the. She's from Florida, so she was telling me about like Red Lobster started like down there and how big it was back in the day. And I was like, dang, like it's so different now. And then all of a sudden, a black CEO, and we were just like, oh, this is about to close down. And of course, they put a black CEO in when the thing about to tank. It's crazy. Oh yeah, I told you guys earlier about this, but Liz Cheney has this thing called Republicans for Kamala, and she's gonna be out on the field voting for Kamala. She was in the original state that the Republicans were created in. It was called Reppin, Wisconsin. So they were out there campaigning this week. We'll see. That's what DeSantis was saying. He was basically he's good. He said he don't need FEMA money. FEMA ain't got it. That's what DeSantis saying. Maybe he lying. I don't know. He said we got it. We don't need them. I was shocked too. Yeah. So that's why he wasn't picking up for Kamala when she called, because she said she reached out to him, and he's like, she never reached out to me. But I think I don't know who lying. Like, I don't know if she didn't reach out, because he said I spoke to the president, and the president sent me the federal funding. So were you talking to Biden? That's what he was saying in his recap. He said he talked to the president, that Kamala didn't call him, and that he said FEMA don't have no money. I don't know. But, they all be lying. You know that. Women are on the line. I did notice that. I said, when I was like looking at all the media of it all, the women are outside. The women are on the line. I literally wrote that. Women are on the line. Like, I'm proud of us. Like, Republican women, I'm proud of us as women. Period. I know that's right. Because we showing up like we're outside. Like, campaigning. We're doing things. We're on interviews. We're talking. We have books. Like, there's just so many women in this campaign that's like discussing things, and it's really beautiful on both sides, like the Republican side too. Like, it's been pretty dope to watch. I talked about Tim Walsh, so I don't want to talk about him again. Donald Trump. Oh, I did say that I'm tired of talking about it. Like, I want Republicans to stop talking about Kamala, and I want Donald to stop talking, and I want Kamala to stop talking about Donald, because it's old. I want to, now we're less than 30 days in. What have you done for me lately? What are you going to do for us? That's it. All that other stuff, we get it. Y'all don't like each other. Who cares? We the children. Take care of the children. So, bottom line. Yeah, I said bottom line. This is my bottom line. We are living in completely separate worlds. I said the bottom line, we are living in two different worlds. I don't know if we can get this train back on the rails. I was previously hopeful, but after watching this week's news media blitz, I'm not sure. I said I feel the hurricane and all this news has shown the clear divide between the states and the federal government, and it's been a little bit scary to watch. But also, as an American, like an American, and whoever the president, I will concede to and say I respect you. I hope the grown-ups in office feel the same way as me. I hope they can come to the conclusion at the end of this to say, let bygones be bygones. That's the best I can hope for right now, because it feels like a mud fest, slinging muds like crazy on both sides. And I'm kind of really disappointed in this week's news outlet, because I've been having fun reading these news highlights every week, and I feel like this is the most gritty and dirtiest week news outlet, because I've been having fun reading these news highlights every week, and I feel like this is the most gritty and dirtiest week I've seen. So yeah, sorry. And that's it. What else do I have? Any last notes? No, that's it. Yeah, I just quoted DeSantis. We've gotten what we needed, and that's where we'll leave it at. So thank you guys. Until next week. I had fun this week. We'll do some highlights. We'll see what the news media gamut is running next week, what kind of rat race they'll be in, and what kind of mess they'll be talking about next week. So thank you to my 2 live crew for hanging out. Thank you for those who commented and liked the live. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next week. Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Tuesdays with Nico. Love y'all. Bye. Until next time.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is